Here's something nobody talks about. Researchers followed 10,000 women for over 2 decades, and what they found about marriage timing completely shattered the stereotype. Women who married later weren't struggling or settling. They were thriving in ways that shocked even the scientists conducting the study. But here's where it gets interesting. The psychology behind why some women don't marry on time reveals something profound about human development that changes everything we thought we knew about relationships and life satisfaction. And the data is not what you'd expect. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Society has this timeline etched in stone, right? Graduate by 22, married by 25, kids by 30. But here's what psychologists discovered when they actually studied women's brain development. Our prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for long-term planning and self-awareness, doesn't fully mature until our mid to late 20s. So women marrying later aren't behind schedule. They're literally making decisions with a more developed brain. Dr. Meg Jay, a clinical psychologist at the University of Virginia, spent years researching this. What she found was fascinating. Women who delay marriage aren't running from commitment. They're doing something psychologists call identity capital building. Think about it. Between 20 and 30, you're figuring out who you actually are, not who your hometown or college friends expected you to be. You're testing careers, exploring values, understanding your own patterns. But there's a twist nobody saw coming. A University of Texas study tracked marriage satisfaction over 15 years. Women who married after 28 reported 30% higher relationship satisfaction than those who married younger. Why? Because they knew themselves. They'd made mistakes, learned from them, and understood what they actually needed versus what romance novels said they should want.
Now here's where the psychology gets really interesting. There's this concept called the paradox of choice, and it plays out differently than you'd think. You'd assume more options would make women anxious or indecisive, but research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows the opposite. Women who take longer to choose partners aren't paralyzed by options. They're exercising what psychologists call differentiated decision-making. Let me break that down. When you're younger, you often choose partners based on external validation. Does he look good to your friends? Does she check society's boxes? But women who marry later have developed something crucial: internal validation systems. They've dated enough to know the difference between butterflies and genuine compatibility. They've experienced enough relationships to recognize red flags that their 23-year-old selves would have ignored. A Columbia University study revealed something even more unexpected. Women who married after 30 had divorce rates 50% lower than those who married in their early 20s. But it wasn't just about age, it was about self-knowledge. These women had spent years understanding their attachment styles, their communication needs, their non-negotiables. They weren't settling, and they weren't rushing.
And here's the piece that changes everything: economic independence. Women who establish careers before marriage report feeling more empowered in their relationships. They're choosing partnership from desire, not necessity. That psychological shift, it transforms the entire dynamic. So what's the truth? Women who don't marry on time aren't missing out. They're often setting themselves up for healthier, more conscious partnerships. The psychology shows us that timing isn't about calendar years. It's about internal readiness, self-awareness, and genuine choice. The women in those studies weren't lucky or unlucky. They were intentional. And that intention, backed by psychological maturity and life experience, created relationships built on authenticity rather than societal pressure. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective, stick around. We dig into the psychology behind life's biggest questions every week, breaking down the research that explains why we do what we do. Because understanding the truth is always better than believing the stereotype.